Welcome to San Francisco.
Thank you.
Great. Just had a few questions for you. How is your current tour going?
Oh, it's been wonderful. This has been one of the best tours of the United States, and we're only just starting. This is like the second or third week, and we've already played, we're Southern California and now Northern California, and now we're back down here. And tomorrow I'll go to Seattle, Washington.
Wow, okay.
And so we'll do Seattle and Portland, and then I'll go back to LA and mix my new album. Jeez. And then I'll fly home, be with my wife and daughter for some days, and then we'll go on to Florida and the East Coast.
Wow.
For that part, and then we go on to England from there.
Always busy. Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me about some of the gear you bring on the road with you.
My setup is really simple. The most important thing is my sound man. I carry three guitars.
Okay.
I come out of the guitar and go into a tuner, which mutes, so people don't hear you tuning.
Right.
And you can just look down, and if the light's red, that's bad. If it's green, that's good. So it's one of those simple tuners. So I come out of that, I go into a preamp, which is called a Pocket Tools, and it's a preamp made by a German company called AER, and it basically is just a big signal. Okay. Instead of using a DI, it's a direct box that has a lot of technology in it, and it's a big sound. Right?
Okay.
So that's one. Then I bypass that and go into my AER amplifier, and then I come out of the amplifier into the PA as well.
Right.
So I have two signals, direct and amp.
Okay. And some of the guitars you're using?
I use three guitars that are the same brand, Maton, made in Australia. They all have the same pickup system.
Okay.
Yeah, it's 6 individual piezos under the saddle, and then a little microphone near the hole. I cover the hole and crank it flat out. Nice. I have the mic on 10, the pickup on 10. That's how I get my sound.
Oh, cool. Do you feel you have any connections here in the San Francisco Bay Area?
Oh, definitely. I got a lot of friends here, and I've been coming to San Francisco for a long time. In fact, KKSF was the first station to play me.
Yes.
Back in the old days, there was the Wave.
Yeah.
The Wave in LA,
the Wave,
and KKSF here in San Francisco. And I actually played at the Great American Music Hall in 1994.
That's a great place. Yeah.
Oh, it was an amazing place.
Yeah.
And it was a show put on by KKSF. So, in fact, it was them who got me into the charts, on the smooth jazz charts.
Yeah,
yeah. I had an album called Midnight Drive, and it was in the top 5 for 17 weeks. And I still remember getting that fax. This is how long ago it was. Getting the fax every day with the update of where it was, and it stayed in the top 5 for 17 weeks. So nice. I was really thrilled.
For those out there, hard to believe, that are not completely familiar with your work.
Oh, the world is full of people who are not familiar with my work.
How long have you been recording and releasing albums?
I made my first album in 1979, and it was an experiment. It was a direct-to-disc album, the first one in Australia. And it was country swing album with a pedal steel player from Georgia by the name of Pee Wee Clark, who was living in Australia. And so that was my first real product. And then in the mid to late 80s, about 87, I started writing more songs to play. And I got some free studio time at a studio, starting at 1 a.m., finishing at 5. Because that's when I could get it for free. Sure. So I recorded these tracks and I sent them to a label here in America who wrote me back and said, we really love this stuff and we'd like to put it out. So I then approached EMI in Australia, and they virtually turned me down. They said, there's no market for this music, and you may as well forget it, kind of thing,
Sure.
And I said, if you just put it out, I'll build a market. I'll do the rest. You just put it out and get it distributed. So I gave it to them for free. They put it out. A week later, the week the album came out, I started a tour as the opening act for John Denver, playing to 15,000 people a night.
Wow. Okay.
Came out as a new solo act in Australia. And I had a 30-minute spot, and the people loved it, and my album debuted in the top 10. So
There you go.
I was lucky.
Yeah.
And then a year later, I did a tour with, I can't remember her name now, but she was really big in those days. I'll think of her name in a minute. And then in 1990, I got the opening spot with Eric Clapton.
Wow, nice.
And so by that time I had a band, and I was playing half electric, half acoustic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I toured Australia opening for Eric, and I got an amazing response, and my crowds like tripled overnight.
Of course.
So that was a great, and that's why sometimes being the opening act is a great leg up for you, a great way of getting to a lot of people, because it's a new audience. You know, people
Yeah,
that come along
yeah.
to see Eric and they're guitar nuts, or they're
Yeah.
they're real Clapton
Exactly.
fans, and then they see someone else that they like,
Mm-hmm.
and they go out and buy your stuff, and away you go. So.
And it all works out. Yeah.
And Eric was really nice. He was
Yeah.
so nice to work with.
Good. Who were some of the early guitar influences that you had growing up that inspired you to play?
Oh, I still have a lot of influences. I mean, I'm listening to everybody.
That was going to be one of my questions too.
Yeah.
Who are some of the contemporary players you're listening to now?
Well, but actually the truth is I don't listen to guitar players that often. I mostly listen to singers and songwriters.
Okay.
Because I want that influence in my music.
Right.
You know what I mean? The world is full of better guitar players than me.
Well,
But,
so who
but
are some of the
I'm a
singers?
songwriter. You know,
Uh-huh.
I write songs and tell stories with
Right.
my instrument, and that's what I try to do. But I mean, I'm very devoted to the instrument and to trying to further it and take it to the world. You know, so when I was a kid, I heard there was a band from England called the Shadows, who were like
yeah.
the Ventures,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And they were my first big influence. So there was the Shadows, the Ventures, Duane Eddy, and then and Hank Williams,
Oh, yeah.
all Hank Williams records. And I learned all the solos and all the rhythm parts and stuff from all that when I was little. And my mother was into Hawaiian music. She listened to all that kind of stuff, and I learned all the rhythm parts. So I learned chord structures, song structures, and I learned how to memorize everything and all that and work it out. Because I had no training. I still don't read music. I play everything by ear.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. So I had no formal training. I had no education. You know,
Yeah.
I'm making this stuff up. I'm the Indiana Jones of the guitar world. Anyway, so then I think James Burton playing with Ricky Nelson was probably the next influence, and then along came Roy Nichols playing with Merle Haggard and Buck Owens, with
Nice.
Don Rich playing with Buck Owens. It was country music that was
Yeah.
in my blood.
Yeah.
And I didn't get into jazz or the blues until the mid to late 70s. Up until then, I played country music. That's what I played.
Interesting.
Yeah, you know, rock and roll music as well, you know,
yeah.
and the Beatles and all that sort of stuff. When I first heard the Rolling Stones, it's a funny thing, I love the Rolling Stones.
Right.
But when I was young, I didn't like it at all because it all sounded out of tune to my ear, because I was so used to the pristine tuning of Chet Atkins. You know, he was so in tune. And when I heard other players, I thought, they sound out of tune or out of time or
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah.
you know.
Real tinny, yeah.
But I didn't get that kind of, it's got to be a little dirty sort of thing. I didn't
Yeah.
get that until later, you know.
Oh, well. So what are your plans for the rest of 2015? I was talking to your tour manager. He says you got an album in the works. Can you talk
Yeah,
about
the album.
that?
Yeah, the album. I haven't got a title for it yet.
Okay.
But I've recorded everything except one song, which I just wrote, and I wanted that song to be on this album. I'm also a recent father,
Oh,
and so I have a
congratulations, yeah.
third daughter now, and
Wow.
she's 5 weeks old,
What's her name?
and her name's Rachel.
Rachel. Okay.
And so I wrote her a song in December
beautiful.
last year,
Nice.
which I'll play in the show tonight.
Okay.
But I wanted to put that on the new album.
Wonderful.
So it's called "It's Never Too Late," which is probably a good title for the album.
Yes,
you
yes,
know?
I like that. Yeah.
So because in my house, when you go through the front door, first thing you see on the wall is a sign, and it says, "It's never too late to live happily ever after."
I love it.
So-
yeah.
So that's just the feeling behind the song.
Great, and a great theme for Valentine's Day too. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, tell
So
me. Yeah.
I'm going to get that album finished mixed and done, and we're going to. I have new management and new people working for me, and my manager's having a coordinated effort to worldwide release all at the same time, get the distribution all set up, promotion all set up, and I will come to LA and do 5 days of promo and TV and all that, things that I've never done before because I'm always on the road. And so when my management changed and my new manager came into my life, he said the first thing we got to do is you got to stop doing that. We got to get you on TV. We got to work with press. We got to get you out to the people, right, because you're working too much and not achieving what is possible.
Yeah.
So
well, good.
It's all good, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm so used to touring, and it's good for my playing. I'm creative on the road, you know. And so when I'm not touring, I like to do regular things, go visit my neighbours and go into guitar stores and play guitars and hang out with guys and all that sort of stuff, you know. So this year I've got a lot of touring. I'm going to a lot of new places in Russia this year. I'm going to Vladivostok, way over the other side of Russia. And we've got some Asian dates, Japanese dates, and China and Singapore, Hong Kong. I've got a tour of Australia and New Zealand in August, and July is all of Italy. I've just recorded an album with a wonderful artist from Italy called Dottie Battaglia. And Dottie and I have known each other for a long time, and he's a big kind of pop star, rock star, you know. And so we've done an album. He's singing in Italian, but it's half electric, half acoustic. Some of the songs I play acoustic, some I play electric. So, and I'm going to tour that album with him in July.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, June, I have 2 camps this year as well. One near New Orleans and one in Cambria in September.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
not
that's
far
beautiful
from here.
Down there. Yeah. Well, Tommy, thank you so much for your time today. And
you're welcome.
Have a wonderful tour this year.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thanks.